Hi, I'm Maggie Bearden, and I'm going to be talking about borderline personality disorder. This disorder is characterized by frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment, unstable and intense relationships, and thoughts of suicide and self-harming, which they do the acts of self-harming, and they also do try to attempt suicide. They may feel empty and unsure about life choices. Their emotions will run high. Anger, sadness, fear, stress, you name it. In relationships, they will love you very much, but also they will eventually notice all the flaws. They will also devaluate you, make you feel like you're going to be unloved, and also they feel unloved. So it's going to be much harder for you to love somebody with this disorder because they will never see you as good enough. They will eventually change everything in their life, which is their life decision. Like if they want to go to college and go for like a certain major, they will go completely 180. They'll go, oh, I'm going to go get a job or somewhere and not go to college and drop out and never come again. The prevalence of this disorder is 1.5 to 1.6 of all the people in the population. And it almost always deals with girls more than guys. It's more common with women of the age of 15 to their early 20s, and also with the guys. The two main causes is cognitive and environmental, meaning it is developed after a traumatic experience as a child, and also it caused many problems for adulthood. The treatments are usually antidepressants or therapy, and this disorder has been very common. It's a very common disorder for mood and everything else. Now that I've done the introduction, here's a girl named Rachel, and she's had this disorder since she was 16 years old, and she's here to answer a few questions about her life with the disorder. So Rachel, it is known that people with this disorder have been known to do self-destructive behavior. Have you ever done this, and if so, why?
Yes, I actually have. At the time, it wasn't something I could control, and it made me feel something, and it made me feel like I was in control of the disorder. At the time, I was also very depressed, and so I wasn't thinking straight at the time, I guess you could say. And in the wake of that, I destroyed a lot of family relationships and a lot of friend relationships that I will regret and have to carry with me every day of my life.
Sounds good. Well, not really all that good, but it sounds good to me. How do you cope with the disorder?
Like I said in the previous question, answering the previous question, I used cutting as a coping mechanism, but I quickly learned as I grew up that it wasn't the best way to cope with the disorder because it was more destructive than it was helpful. And so as I grew up, I found that talking with friends became a way to cope with it, and going into college, that really helped because it gave me an outlet to basically push the disorder aside and focus on schoolwork and focus on graduating college and getting the grades.
Alright, the next one is medication is one of the main treatments of this disorder. Have you ever been given medication? So if you did, how did it help you?
Well, I was given medication when I was first diagnosed with the disorder because nobody really knew how I would react with the disorder and everything. But as time went on, it became very clear that the medication was more harm than good to my overall behavioral issues. So I was taken off the medication, but at the same time I still had my antidepressants. And as I keep saying over and over, I grew up with a disorder, and so just the antidepressants alone and the new coping mechanisms I had found, it was easier for me to deal with the disorder, and medication became a thing of the past.
Describe your last unstable relationship.
Unstable is definitely one way to put it. I was actually introduced to the guy through a really close friend of mine, And at the time, he and I couldn't date because I was already dating somebody who I was happy with. But after I broke up with that boyfriend, I'd say several months later, I did give the guy a chance, and the unstable part of it really wasn't more towards between the two of us. I mean, yeah, we fought, but the unstable part became me and concerned with the relationship and just not being able to mentally handle it, being thrown into a relationship so quickly after just breaking up with a current boyfriend. So the unstable part was more me than him, but it's something he would never understand.
Alright. Does anyone in your family have the disorder? If so, how do they deal with it?
I am actually very thankful that nobody in my family has it. It relieves the stress of not only medical bills, but medication bills and everything. So I count my lucky stars every day that nobody in my family has it. And I do have several friends that I do consider family with the disorder. So I find a way to deal with it one way.
I know this might be a weird question, but where's your Christmas spirit?
Christmas spirit, that's not something uncommon. I get that question a lot, actually. People with the disorder, we do have Christmas spirit despite what popular belief thinks. It's just harder for us at that time of year to be happy, to be joyful when our mind and body are completely rejecting the idea of happiness. And so it varies from year to year, and I'd like to say no year is ever the same with the disorder in Christmas time.
Okay. How have you seen your personality change with the disorder?
Well, my personality at first wasn't any different than it was, but once the medication started, I became snappy, moody, extremely agitated with people very quickly. I was irritable. I didn't do schoolwork. I wasn't myself. And then as I grew up and with the disorder, I found a way to control it, and the medication stopped, like I've said before. And with me gaining control of it, I gained my personality back, and I became the person I was before the disorder.
That sounds good. Alright. The very last question I'm going to ask you is, has someone in your family or really close to you ever abandoned you? If so, explain why.
It was actually almost about a year ago. I had been best friends and an on-again, off-again relationship with a guy for 6 years. It wasn't something I ever expected to end. He and I were really, really close to each other, and just out of the blue, he left me. And I didn't know why or what I'd done or what I'd said. He blocked me from his life, and that threw my disorder into a complete and utter tailspin. I became closed off. I shut all my doors. People had to literally pull me out of my dorm room. At the time, people had to come in and out with food. I'd only go to class. It wasn't something I wanted to really deal with, but I'm glad my friends made me deal with it, because it made me stronger, and he is still gone from my life, and it's been almost a year now, so I am finding a way to heal.
Well, that's good, but thank you for talking with me, Rachel.
You're welcome.